Hello everybody, I'm Chad Jackett. I'm the president and co-founder of the Cannabis Growers of Canada. Basically, we started the Cannabis Growers of Canada to stand up for all the small business owners in the cannabis industry that have worked so hard over the last 30 plus years to build the industry that we all know and see around us. I started it because I saw this encroaching movement coming from the federal government with this LP system that would pretty much flatten our industry and leave it, with this replacement cannabis industry that is nothing like what we all know and have worked so hard to have today. So basically, we're a voice for you. It's what I started it for. We all here represent, British Columbia, BC Bud, which is a world-renowned name that, bureaucrats all over the world would just love to scoop that name up and use all your hard work against you and just take it and then throw you guys all under the bus. I saw that if we didn't unite and really come out of our situations of hiding behind the pot plants, that that we would end up getting picked off one at a time. They'd individually just come and take us all out. But united as one, as a united group of individuals that are proud of our industry, it's going to be a lot harder for them to just pick us off. So really, this is about us. It's not about me. So that's what the Cannabis Growers of Canada is all about.
Thanks everyone for coming out. I mean, it's a beautiful day out there, and I'm sure the last thing anyone wants to be talking about is government relations and stuff, so I really appreciate you guys lending us some time. As Jacqueline said, my name is Dawkins. I'm the executive director of the CGC, and thanks to Chad for that great overview of sort of who we are and what we're about. Hey, Norman, come on in, grab a seat. So I mean, as Chad said, CGC was founded at the very outset to be a voice for the independent cannabis community and the small businesses. And so what attracted myself and Jacqueline when we merged our organization that we had founded that was trying to do the same thing was precisely that focus on representing and giving a voice to a united cannabis economy, right? My background personally was as a lobbyist was with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, which for those of you who don't know is a very large, very powerful, very influential lobbying organization that is made up of small businesses. They don't take any large corporate donations. It's all based on membership fees. And despite the fact that they're just representing dry cleaners and corner gas stations, they are far and away one of the most powerful lobbying organizations in Ottawa. And that was the training that I received. And so when we started talking about the CGC, I thought that this was a slam dunk, right? I mean, yes, there needs to be a focus on cannabis and the specifics of our industry and ensuring that patients are protected and looked after and that everything we're doing is with that kind of dual mentality. But at the end of the day, to me, it's the same thing. United, you guys have a more powerful voice than I think any of you realize. I've seen it personally. Politicians, if they get 10 letters, 15 letters from constituents about a single issue, that's a big deal to them. They really do hear that. I've seen the look of terror in their eyes when I give them 15 petitions from businesses from their riding. And this is no different. Cannabis is no different. I mean, in the last 20 days, we've had meetings with the Secretary of State for Job Creation and his opposition critic here in British Columbia, where we talked about the cannabis economy and what we're trying to create. We're going to be meeting with federal politicians. We're setting up meetings with Bill Blair, with the Minister of Health federally, the Minister of Justice federally, and municipally. We've been very active, and it's not just in Vancouver where we've been obviously very active, but here in Victoria we've been setting up meetings with politicians and also in Squamish and other locations. So there's nothing to be afraid of here. With Allard having come down the way it did and legalization rapidly gaining steam, this is the opportunity now for you guys to come out, as Chad said, from behind the plants, from behind the counter, introduce yourselves to your local community, and begin to take a little bit of ownership about legalization and the regulations that are going to be written, because the government desperately needs to hear from you guys and to hear from our sector so that they can really. Listen, I'm having some scary conversations with politicians. They don't know anything about anything. They don't have any preconceived notions. I mean, some of them obviously are getting lobbied hard by the LPs and by other big money, but at the end of the day, they don't know anything about cannabis. They don't know about the medical system. They don't know about potential recreational. They just are desperate for someone to explain to them who you are and what you do, and the fact that we can fill that void is enormously powerful. That's the first thing that I think the CGC does, is the lobbying, the representation, making sure that there's a voice for all of you. The second thing that is really critically important to the way that you guys should be thinking about a business organization and what we're trying to build here is the products and partnerships that excuse me, the products and partnerships that we can develop. This is another thing that I was involved with at CFIB that we're trying to do here for sure, which is build those relationships with the insurance industry, the banking industry, the various people, the suppliers, everyone that you guys will need to work with in a heavily regulated way, like the banking industry. Obviously right now things are really difficult because of all the FinTrack stuff. They won't, anti-money laundering, they won't let you have ATMs in your lobbies if you're a dispensary, whatever the case may be. That's the kind of stuff that, I mean, Colorado, that was a horrible situation where legalization day one happened. People are making duffel bags of cash and they can't put it in the bank because the banking regulations haven't changed to reflect the change in the law. I don't want to see that happen in British Columbia or anywhere in Canada. We need to make sure that you guys are properly insured. When some of the small scale farms come out of the basements where they've been and fully declare what they're doing, you're going to have to radically rethink the way you conceive of yourself as a business agent. You're going to have to start insuring yourself, making sure you're protected, your family's protected, your property's protected. Because if you're renting, your landlord's going to know now. If you're not renting, if you own, the bank's going to care about that on the mortgage. What's the relationship you have with your bank? What are the laws for that? What have we done as an industry to negotiate these things out? So that's the kind of conversation that we're already starting to have. We have some really fantastic things that we can already announce. We're in the final stages of arranging for an insurance product that would protect our members from legal interference, for lack of a better term. So if through no fault of your own you are faced with an unreasonable legal intervention in your business affairs, this coverage would pay up to, I believe it's $100,000 in legal costs. We have our broker here, he's nodding very quietly. So that's the kind of stuff that we can now develop and deliver to you guys that will make a real difference to your day-to-day business activity, way beyond the cost of the membership fee that we're talking about. The other big one, point of sale. If you're a retailer, debit and credit transactions, even if you're mail ordering, debit and credit transactions takes a huge percentage out of your bottom line. If we can negotiate a quarter point off of your debit and credit transaction fees, that will save you thousands of dollars over the course of a year. Those are the kind of things that we can do if we unite and get together and organize.
Hydro costs.
Hydro costs, exactly. Negotiating new rate classes. What's your GST code, right? Those things make differences about what do we classify this as? Is it an agricultural product, or is it a medical product, or all of these things? You guys don't realize sometimes how big the picture gets when you become legal. And there's benefits to that, in that you're no longer able to be harassed by the police, but there's a cost to that as well, which is that we now need to be able to negotiate as businesses, as a business industry that has nothing to be ashamed of. And so, it's vital at this moment in time, before things come down, before all the rules are set without your input, that we have some involvement in that. So one of the most interesting things that we're seeing is our members are beginning to link up. And this has happened, again, this has only been 20 days that we've been doing this full time, and already we have some of our new dispensary members out east calling us desperate for suppliers out west. They want growers, they want extractors, they want knowledge, they want experience, they want those connections, and that goes both ways. I mean, we're seeing the growers saying, or their suppliers saying, I want to work with good dispensaries that care about their patients, I don't want to deal with any of this nonsense anymore, so can you put me in touch with people who have high standards? We have a code of conduct for all of our members. I can guarantee you that anyone that I've made a member of this organization, I have respect for the work that they do. Let's link you guys together. It's happening already. It's happening at a terrifying rate, and I think that that's a fantastic thing for our industry that we want to encourage, is you guys should be supporting each other. The people that have your back, if you're a dispensary in Vancouver and you're getting screwed around by the city right now, the fact that our growers, our shatter makers, all of our people have your back, and vice versa. When it was Allard, it was the dispensaries helping the growers, right? Like, this is what the relationship we need to continue to encourage, and part of that is by doing business with each other. It also lets us harmonize the regulations that we're going to have to develop for ourselves in an industry, because we are at a crossroads now where we have two choices. We can decide for ourselves what our standards are, or the government can come and impose a bunch of nonsense that looks a lot more like what the LPs are forced to do, where they're forced to use the pesticides they don't want to use, they're forced to test in a way that doesn't make any sense. And all of that came because the government designed the entire LP system with no input from the cannabis industry, and we got a bunch of nonsense. It was hooey, right? I feel bad for these people. They're on this regulatory treadmill. They can never sell their product, they can never actually do what they want to do. we can't let that happen again. And so it's really important at this stage that we be involved in that. So we're already beginning to see that. We want to encourage it because what we're trying to do on the regulatory standard side of things is develop our own model for what we think is the appropriate level of analytical testing that goes into it, making sure that the labeling and the packaging are crystal clear about what is in this, what's the THC content, what is the strain, all of that stuff should be stuff that we come up with as an industry that we're comfortable with, so we can turn around to government and say, don't worry, you don't need to tell us to do that. We're already doing that. In order to be a member of our industry association, you have to do this, that, and the other thing, so back off. This is something that the wineries do with the VQA program. It's nothing unheard of. It's nothing impossible or to achieve. And I'm quite confident that if we develop our own reasonable standards through the code of conduct that we're developing, that we can get the government to give us some space to do things in a much more results-oriented fashion. I mean, everyone in this room cares about their customers, their clients, whoever, your patients. You want to make sure they have access to safe and quality product. I know that, you know that, so let's just figure it out and move forward. That's the bottom line, right? Is that if we don't do that ourselves, the government's going to impose it on us. So I for one, want to have an active conversation in our community about what we consider to be the minimum acceptable standards for cannabis quality, for labeling, for all of that stuff. So those are the three big things that we're bringing to the table. It's the political representation, the lobbying, the communications. I'm doing a lot of media work to try to explain to the general public who you are and that there's nothing scary here that we need to be afraid of. We're doing the products and partnerships, develop the industry-to-industry relationships that we need to start, developing and encouraging, and then your own internal relationships with our other members. We're developing a marketplace for registered MMAR growers and legitimate dispensaries that they have a back-end online system, but we're also facilitating those one-on-one relationships. So that's a big benefit to being a member of the CGC. And with that, I'm going to keep this short and sweet, but I'd be happy to answer any questions, so we can just shoot straight to a Q&A if you guys want, or anything that you need to know, I'm happy to answer. We're fully transparent. I mean, if you guys have questions, concerns, you want to really grill me, that's fine.
I'll come up with you
Yeah,
if they want to
please.
ask me any questions.
Sir.
Couple things. There's a couple things in here that just aren't really addressed.
Mm-hmm.
One, when you get a CGC seal, which it sounds like you're going to be giving out to different businesses, be they producers, distributors, whatever. Online dispensaries, does a dispensary have to carry only CGC products?
Nope.
Is there a brokerage concept here for wholesalers where they can actually say, hey, this is CGC tested 30 pounds and sell it to dispensaries? Have you considered that?
Yeah.
Because not all of it's always going to be grower direct.
Yeah.
No, exactly, yeah. No,
And-
that can totally be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
All that, the way the industry
Oh,
works,
yeah.
the way it works is the
So
way
what would be the
it's gonna
criteria
work.
that you have in mind to get that seal?
we're going to have to develop that, right? We're going to have to talk to the wholesalers. What do you do? When we talk to MB about the importance of lot numbers and tracking the entire thing from beginning to end so that we can break down where a problem, like let's say there's powdery mildew in a batch, right? The individual little 1 gram bag has it. We can trace the seal number back to the wholesaler, we can trace it back to the grower, to the tester, to wherever, find the exact point of failure, and ensure it doesn't happen again. So again, the answer to your question is, I don't know, let's figure it out, right? Let's figure out how to make it so that a wholesaler can integrate themselves into that chain, giving us what we want, which is from seed to sale. We know who grew the plant, what the plant was, what the quality was, what part of the plant you're consuming, all of that, right? That's all I care about. If you can integrate into that,
When it comes to dispensaries though, if you're going to give the dispensary itself the business a certification, you have to have an expectation that all of their products live up to certain standards. Or you can just give the certification to the product.
just to those products as
Yeah.
well, right? I mean, those products could always just sit with those
Yeah.
certifications on
Exactly.
them.
and then our certification for the dispensary is different. Our certification for the dispensary is, we're gonna need to figure out and this is an insurance legal issue as much as it is a standards issue, we're gonna need to figure out what is serving it right for a bud tender. And I know some people hate the word bud tender, so I apologize, but you all know what I mean when I say it. So what is that person's training and certification in order to handle and sell cannabis in a way that is healthy, right? So that they're not touching buds and stuff like that. I see a lot of these people doing that, and we need to stop that kind of stuff, right? But it's like, what does your insurance company need you to have told that person in order to sell cannabis to someone so that when they wrap their car around a tree and try to blame you for it, you can say, no, I told you, don't want to operate heavy machinery,
But
right?
coming from the liquor industry myself, I used to manage liquor stores before.
Right.
It's like, that is a joke. The serving it right thing is something that was come up, it's an open book test, and you have all the answers written on the first page of the test. It's not a certification for anything.
Yeah.
Like
And
I know 3-year-olds that would pass it. So I mean, what it was developed by the government.
Right.
In response to one particular case. If we're going to be proactive, I would think it would want to be a little bit more stringent.
And so you should be talking to us about anyone who has an experience or background with serving it right should be telling us their insights. So I'm going to stick you on that advisory committee, my friend. Like,
Definitely want him.
yeah, exactly, right? So,
I'm running on everything.
but that's the idea, right? It's like what we have an opportunity here. This isn't just about threat. I get criticized by some other organizations because I run into a room and I scare everyone the government's going to come and burn your house down, which they are. But this is an opportunity as much as this is a threat. This is a chance for us to self-declare. What is a Canadian cannabis industry? What is BC Bud? What do we want to be proud of? What are the standards that we all agree that we should be hitting in order to feel proud about the work that we do? And what are the things that we're just going to let you guys, let the marketplace fight it out, right? Let price, product, and service go nuts, as long as you're hitting these targets that we consider to be fundamental to the business that we want to all run and to associate ourselves with people who share those values. That's all this is, right? It's not rocket science. It's not something that the other industries don't already do. The wine industry does it. The craft beer makers do it. Everyone does it. Let's do it too. Let's do it right, like you said. Take that opportunity.
My biggest concern is communication strategies. So the commercial, I think, is really effective, but we need more of that.
Well, I'm working on a lot more of that. Anyways, yeah, but that is coming. Yeah, we do plan on doing a lot more of that type of messaging. Yeah,
I've been doing a lot of one-on-one media so far, just because it's been the most effective strategy to develop those relationships with reporters. Because what I want them to do is to stop calling some of the people they've been traditionally calling and start calling me. So that relationship has already been built with a lot of the reporters, and they keep saying the same thing, which is, oh God, it's so nice to talk to somebody else. So, we know that we're on the right track in our messaging, and it's all reflective of what you saw in the commercial. It's about craft cannabis, it's about the small and medium-sized business sector. These are arguments that government hears from everyone else all the day long, so why can't cannabis be the same thing? Right? Why can't we talk to them about job creation and about keeping it local and making sure it's integrated into the community? One of the points I hit with politicians is they say, I get complaints because people don't want it near their kids, they don't want it near schools, daycares, whatever. And so that's why they tell me they want it in pharmacies. Sir.
Hey, I'm Jay, Top Leaf Supply Co. Very new to the island. I noticed on the website though that you guys are saying that you're going to create a marketplace through members, and I just wanted to know and understand more on a supply level what that's going to look like.
Sure. You want to tackle that?
on a supply level. So how do you mean by the supply level? Like
is it pretty much like I click on membership, access to A, B, and C, hundreds of
right. So ultimately, the site is needing a little bit of work for where I want it to be. Basically, it's going to be right now. It's an ad, basically an ad space. You can go on and just advertise what you have available. I would like to upgrade the site to the point where it's just really interactive and all your farms are kind of on there. So there's different farm names around. Your different small farms. You can click on that. It opens up what that person has available, and then you could be a dispensary. You can check out everything they have. You can order. It's all just interactive, just like that, right? And make it super easy for everybody to connect, know where everything is, know where different strains are, all available all around the country, where they can access those, and just make our industry one streamlined industry where we work professionally.
And as you get those certifications, as Chad was talking about, is it quads, is it whatever, you can just highlight, click a box. I only want premium top bud, right? That's all I'm looking for is just some flower, high grade sativa. Click those little check marks, boom. And maybe you don't do the entire business transaction on the portal, but it'll definitely put you in touch with that person where you can finalize the details, right? And that's where we want to get to.
And would that product be all tested, like coming in on the supplier level?
Yes, anybody that'd be on CGC that's advertising on there is going to eventually, obviously right now, everybody that's joining on, we're not going to have that all tested, but I'm going to ensure that I'm going to check out your product, know that you're somebody that's got what we need, and and is a trusted individual. I probably want to get to know you a little bit, but yeah, other than that we're working on getting there, right? We're not able to do all that overnight. But again, if you're a dispensary,
right?
if you're a dispensary or something, and you've got 5 growers that are all CGC, and then somebody walks in off the street with an awesome pack, and you're like, well, I really want to pick this up, and it's awesome. How are you? You can't just sign them up instantly, it's
Yeah.
going to be hard for you. So
That's what I was
you
kind of
know,
wondering too.
yeah,
like,
no.
on
Soft
a
flats,
supplier
tell them how
level,
good we
yeah,
are.
I go and I'm
you know,
meeting
let them
with-
know about us.
Yeah.
Grab their pack, do what you got to do.
Growers, let's say, right? And I'm like, okay, we'll buy out the entire pack.
Mhm.
At that point, on a supplier level, or we used to be brokers and now we're legally suppliers.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is there. Where is my stance at getting that tested? Like all I have right now going to these guys is obviously, my visuals and my experience with dealing with the cannabis plant.
Well, right
So-
now you can send that to us and we
Yeah.
can get it done. It's a bit of a timely process at the moment. I want to get it a lot quicker for us all. That's one thing I want to work on too with all these labs. But
Pricing, reduce the pricing as well.
pricing as well, and
Mm-hmm.
these are all things that we need to definitely work on with them. But yeah, we can make that happen and get your stuff tested right now.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's about I need to have a conversation with you and him about what's your business model like, right? Like what do you need to do to buy and sell your product, and how do we integrate that into the very reasonable standards that we're trying to set, right? It's not.
Exactly, it's a tricky situation because it's like, it would be nice to open up shop and have dispensary owners come to us to be able to supply their own dispensary, but that model's not there yet. So do we open up under a dispensary model that just so happens to have a extra amount of cannabis in the back, So
Well, I think this is what I keep saying to people, because I get a lot of finicky questions from people who say like, well, I do this and that, but like the current system is this, and I don't want to work with those guys because I hate those guys and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, 5 months from now, Pandora's box is opening, and I have no idea what's going to be in that. So my job right now is to ensure that what you just told me gets transmitted to the government official whose genius idea was to take on this file, so that he's thinking about that, and we're having a conversation, right? Because again, it could be the worst bill ever, or it could be everything that we've outlined in our video, right? It could be anywhere in between those two outcomes. And the question right now is, who do we have to talk to get to where we need to go? And we're already starting. I've got a couple of meetings lined up with Health Canada. Like, this is the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a matter of having that educated conversation with you, transmitting that to the relevant person, and then backing them.
Yeah.
Right? That's all.
touching on that video kind of, sort of.
Sure.
Annual membership, does that give you access to posting the video?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
use
figured
it.
it was something
Post
that
it.
wants to
Use
be
it all
shared.
Yeah.
over. That goes for everybody in the room. Use it.
Yeah.
I mean, when we talk about the networking opportunities, one of the
It's
things.
yours.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, this
It's
is a
you.
trade association. So as we move away from all this legal nonsense and having to talk about legislation and government relations, which will always be part of what we do, but it'll die down once we get whatever this bill is going to be. Then we're having a conversation about networking opportunities and making sure that you guys are getting the latest standards and the latest training and the latest whatever you want. We're going to conferences in Colorado and finding out what they're doing down there and bringing it back to whatever knowledge, which is probably nothing according to him. But you know what I mean? Like, that's part of what we're going to start doing. Is it's going to become about the business association is going to be as much about networking and professional relationships as it is your relationship to the government or our relationship to the general public with the media. So it's going to be that label, that seal is going to become a marketing opportunity for you guys, right? It'll be like, I don't just have the best, I have the seal best. Like, you guys know the CGC, you know the reputation.
It's like, and we've got like this the CQA, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the VQA, but the CQA.
Well, it's nice, right? Because like in our standpoint, if we're creating products or we're creating brands, it's what creates the consistency across the board, right?
Yeah.
If we look at the quality standards for McDonald's, I can go to Germany and get the same Big Mac that I can get here,
Yeah.
right? So to create that consistency
Terrible quality.
within
No, I hear what you're
from
saying, yeah.
Vancouver to Toronto, though.
That's just
like
it,
if
right?
I go to a Vancouver dispensary and I'm like, oh, my favorite strain is Hemp Star,
Mhm.
and I go to a Toronto dispensary and say, oh, my favorite strain here is Hemp Star.
Yeah, it should be the same thing.
It should be the same
And what we're
thing.
hearing from the analytics labs is the DNA doesn't always reflect what the person's
Again?
saying, right?
Yeah,
So getting those
exactly.
standards locked
Again,
down.
though, there's going to be different farmers growing different
styles of it.
different styles.
Yeah.
You know, I can give one farmer or two different farmers the exact same phenotype, and they can grow it one across the street from one another, and they can come out looking completely different from one
And
another.
genetically, if you have two
Exactly.
seeds from the same cross, they're not going to be the same genetic.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
We don't
exactly.
have genetically identical children.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like apples, there's 10,000 varietals that can come out of one tree, right? It's,
Yeah.
you know, this is more complicated, and so we need to decide for ourselves, and this is where that conversation I had with MB today was really illuminating, is that they're like, look, sometimes medically speaking, it's best to take a bunch of similar quality and just mix it up, because then you're not worried about the cross the street, differences. You're creating by aggregating enough high quality cannabis, you're creating a consistent blend that you can then go month to month, and that medical patient who needs there to be no variations in their THC can access, you know what I mean? So that's a completely different conversation that we're able to facilitate by building these relationships,
Yeah.
right? So the cannabis industry could be radically different in really good ways if we get get involved and push what we want to see, right? It's an opportunity to create as much as it is to defend.
I'll tell you how important it was for somebody. She has ulcerative colitis.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
giving her suppositories, and she wants to know if they're organic, so.
There's a lot of jokes I can make about that. Yeah, no, look, everyone should have the right, this is part of our message, is that everyone should have the right, as long as it's reasonable and safe, to access cannabis in whatever way they want. If you want to eat it, why are we restricting all these, like, if they have a reason why they want to restrict edibles like they're currently doing in Vancouver, tell me why. I know why it is. It's because they're worried about dosage. Well, then let's come up with standards for how to ensure that the dosage in every edible is accurate, and then go away, please, Mr. Government, right? Like, this is, the reality
The funny
is.
part about it though too is they say it's about dosage, and then the only thing that they have to say that they need these dosing standards in is a couple guys that rolled into the hospital and were given an orange and then sent home.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So nobody's ever died off edibles. And
It's a sensitive political issue in Vancouver because of 420 at the art gallery, blah, 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 I don't even want to get into it, but.
Have they come to a conclusion that he can't eat it? He can eat one cookie and I can eat 5 and he can eat 10. The same, like.
Yeah.
you're just like
so
me,
it
Joel.
totally affects people differently anyway, so I don't know how you're gonna say how they're really gonna standardize that.
Yes, he's on a committee. But that's, I mean, look, I don't know the answer to that. I know I am an experienced lobbyist and I am bilingual and I'm lots of wonderful things, but I'm not a cannabis expert.
All we can
That's
do is provide the dosages and
Yeah.
the different things for people, and then we can't follow people around and put them in a bubble. They gotta make their own decisions
Yeah.
in life.
So
know?
it says 100
There's a way
milligrams.
for the data, like,
Yeah.
we all have the data ourselves, we
Yeah.
can come together.
As long as we have the right information, we can
Yeah.
make the proper decisions.
And as long as what that label says is reflective of the real content and because of your processes for how you make your mixes or whatever, then I don't care, right? Like, and I shouldn't, and it should be like you said, the individual should decide how many cookies they want to mistakenly eat and then really stare at that lake for 8 hours. Any other questions?
What's your total membership number?
What are we? Just over 100 now. In 20 days, so pretty proud. Well, I mean, you guys had.
That was a little more than that. That was a little more than that.
Well, we're just in the midst of opening, very interested in becoming a member, you know what I mean?
Awesome.
Fantastic.
And as well, like, we'll be able to help promote that and have you guys' brand along with ours is always a good thing, but.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality is that we're gonna be in a position where you will be able to offer whatever promotions or discounts or whatever you want for members, and we will be driving them to you because they're going to be saying, who's my local hydroponics guy that has my back, right? Who's been paying into the same kind of defenses for all of us, right? It's the same approach we're taking with the glass shops. I've been telling them, look, you guys need to get, not only do you need to be involved with us because this is your client base that you need to be protecting, but right now what's happening in Ontario with the Smoke-Free Ontario Act is that they're trying to classify the vaporizing device itself as tobacco, basically. So you can't even have a conversation with a medical patient about a volcano, which is a Health Canada certified appliance.
Yeah,
You can't even talk that conversation. So that's if I'm a glass shop, pay attention, right? Like, keep your eye on the ball no matter who you are in this industry.
Vancouver Island is so different than.
Listen.
Well, I had a friend who just closed down on Gabriel Island. He had a smoke shop over there. Unfortunately, it's just not the right kind of demand, but we're also looking at that in Saanich, like what kind of bylaws they have in place, because we don't want to open up our store and get a $20,000 fine
Exactly.
open up on that day, because we got a couple vapor pens and some grinders or something like that going on, right? So you definitely have to find out what all the laws are.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And you make sure that when like sometimes they're going to write a law and it has nothing to do with intent. To your point,
We
that
have
they
to
don't-
beat these laws down. That's what we have to
Yes.
do.
Well, and sometimes they don't realize. Like, I honestly don't think that the Ontario Liberals realized what they were going to do to medical cannabis. with
Well,
that
how
law.
did they even get there? Like, I didn't even understand.
I'll tell you the story later. It's as dumb as you want to imagine.
They snuck him
It's like
in there,
promise.
that's for sure.
No, it was a really dumb story. But anyway, the reality is that they rewrote that law to put cannabis in there because they didn't want somebody smoking in front of a school or whatever insane scenario they came up with. And the result is that a veteran who has a Veterans Affairs certified medical cannabis whatever goes into a store and wants to ask how does a volcano work. You can't have that conversation now? That's insane. And every politician I talk to is like, I didn't mean to do that, right? So that's the reality of what we do for a living.
Is that what just happened?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's happening
yeah.
right now.
Right
I'm
now.
getting calls out of Calgary, like people are
Yeah, sorry,
getting
I
kicked out
mean-
of bong stores, like left.
Wrap it
right,
up.
and
Yeah.
center.
So,
What the hell's going on?
Right?
Yeah, so
Abby
we're,
runs that.
yeah, we're running out of time, but I want to thank you all for coming. We are, obviously actively recruiting members, so we'd love to, if you heard enough and you want to sign up tonight, great. If you want to continue to have a conversation, if you want to email us some questions afterwards, we're happy to do that. But we are becoming heavily involved, and 6 months is a short window, so it's really important that we rally around sooner rather than later. So we really encourage you to join up, and we encourage your business associates to join up if you have business relationships with people you feel would benefit from this. But yeah, I think the benefits speak for themselves. So.